Hello. I just wanted to make a quick video about have a review of my Game Week 19 and then look into my plans for Game Week 20. It's quite a lot to talk about. There's possible snow postponements on the way. There's chip strategy I've started thinking about. There's all these suspensions and stuff, so there's quite a lot to think about in this one. But starting with a Game Week 19 review, I did well again. 100 points into the top 3K. It's all feeling very surreal. I won't babble on too long about it, but this is like unknown territory for me. So to be this high is very nice. Still, according to FPL Optimize, it is mainly luck, and that is getting a bit obscene now. That luck is like 120 plus luck. That's quite a lot of luck, isn't it? So I am still kind of bracing myself for that luck to just change at any moment. The way this season has felt to me is like if you've ever ridden a bike with the wind behind you, it feels like that. If you ever ride a bike with the wind against you, you properly feel it. You feel all the wind, you hear it, you feel every pedal is like it's just grueling. You're putting all this effort in and making no progress. But when you cycle with the wind behind you, you barely even feel it. Like it's very subtle. And you can hardly even notice it. All that you feel is that everything just feels easy and effortless, and you're just flowing, just cycling along, and everything just goes your way, and it's easy, and you're just flying along, and it just feels like that. Like everything I do just kind of just works, and so, but then that's just the wind, isn't it? The wind can change direction at any moment. I suspect this is my true measure, and so it's very nice. But I'm trying not to kind of take it to heart too much. It's great, and you've got to have some luck in the game, and I've had 2 seasons of bad luck, so I'll take it, but it could change at any moment. So I'm trying to kind of just focus on this yellow line, keep trying to just presuming that my luck is going to change at any moment. But anyway, it's nice. So yeah, came through. Jota spared my blushes. Even he got a 6 when he didn't start. Jesus, beautiful. Isaac and Gordon doing well. People wanted to bring him in now. Gordon as well, so that's good. Rogers, Sells. I even benched Wood, but that was annoying. I did wonder whether I should play Wood over Jota, but I don't think I was ever going to do that. And I did wonder a little lesson that I think I may have learned, which is I don't like limiting my ceiling, and I wonder whether I should extend that to the bench, because I put Wood and Mykolenko first bench, but if Wood does well, it means Mykolenko does bad. If Mykolenko does well, it means Wood does bad. So if I were to ever need both those bench spots, which is unlikely, but if I had have needed it, I've kind of limited my ceiling there. So maybe that's just a thing that I should remember in the future to put Lewis there instead. Possibly. But that's a minor thing. Anyway, so going well. Let's go on to Game Week 20 though. So here's the team. It's probably better to look at it here with the flags. Rogers is suspended. Timber is suspended, which means I now have to play Jota, which that's a whole big question in my head of like whether to play him or not. And I think it's been solved now because of this potential snow coming that might postpone this game. I think that's just tipped me over the edge, and I'm probably going to sell Jota now, but I'll come on to that in a minute. So there's Jota, Timber. I mean, basically, if before I heard about the snow coming, I was potentially going to play Jota or move him on to possibly Sarr, somebody like that. I don't know. I was thinking about that. And then there was Lewis. I could have played Lewis, or I could have moved him on to somebody else like Anderson for Fulham, or Castagna, or somebody. I might have been have had a pump with him. And then there was Jesus as well. If he had blanked, I might have moved him on. But now he scored. I think I'll stick with him for a bit. But we've got this snow warning now. So if you haven't heard, there's a load of snow due. Where's the weather report? I had one here. So there's snow due. This is Saturday into Sunday morning this weekend. I don't know if you can hear that. It's probably not on.
So the Midlands, Wales, Northern England, Southern Scotland.
But that's basically like there's Wolverhampton's there. You got Liverpool. It's Liverpool home, isn't it? Right around there, right in the middle of that snow. Saturday night, Sunday morning, possibly getting a whole. It may not happen, but it's looking like it could do. And they postpone everything nowadays. They postponed Liverpool-Everton for wind, which I presume was a lot of wind, but that was just wind. They nearly postponed it for fog the other day. I think a bit of snow could easily postpone that game right around the time of the fixture. So you've got that. That's like Liverpool there. I think Fulham and Ipswich will be all right. It's Fulham and Ipswich will be all right. Wolves and Nottingham Forest, I think, will probably be all right because in Wolverhampton, you do have this snow coming over Saturday night, Sunday morning, but then they're not playing until Monday night, and on Sunday you got like 7-8 degrees here. I think that's enough to melt it, isn't it, for one day? And then Monday you got everything starting up again. They need to get, it's not that cold, 3s and 4s, bit of sunshine. I think it'll be melted. I think it'll be all right. I'm going to take my chances with Wood and Sells. I'm not going to worry about them. I'm just going to assume they're going to play. But these three, if that Liverpool Man United game gets called off, and I don't know what the chances are, and some people think don't be silly, it's just a bit of snow, but it's not so much the pitch, is it? It's all the fans and the infrastructure, and it's a big game with Man United and Liverpool fans, and it depends how much snow we get. We might get not that much, it might be fine, but we might get loads. I haven't really looked into the weather report massively, so I don't know. But if it gets called off, Liverpool, Man United, then I've got those 3 players out and these 2. I've basically got Mikalenko to come in, and I'll have like, what's that? I don't know, 8, 9 players or something. So, whereas I've got free transfers. So I'm thinking if I sell Jota and I sell Timber, because I was thinking of selling Lewis, but if I just sell Timber instead now, then if I get any problems, it might be easier to see it on air. Rodgers is benched. Timber's on the bench. If I get any problems now, I'm thinking of selling Timber to Huijsen, which I'll come on to in a minute, and thinking of selling Jota to Mbeumo. Mbeumo is the one I'm thinking of going for. Maybe Sarr, but I think Mbeumo. And that would basically mean that if then I'll just have 2, and if that game gets cancelled, I've got Mikalenko and then one of Lewis or Huijsen to come on, whoever I decide to start. So it wouldn't be too bad, and that doesn't feel too bad to me. It solves the Jota problem because it just means I've got somebody a bit safer instead of Jota. And then the Timber thing, I probably wouldn't have minded sticking with 2 Arsenal defenders. I still think Arsenal's defence is all right. I wouldn't have minded doing that. But because of this snow risk, I feel like it's not terrible to go with Huijsen. So where to start with this? Oh man, see, this is the problem. I've got so many things to think about because there's also chip strategy as well. I'm starting to think about saving transfers up. I'll talk about that in a minute. I need to save some transfers up now. The reason I like Huijsen is, firstly, my model has him as like from game week 20 to 29. He is actually like the next best behind Trent. Simicast isn't an option, so you've got Trent, Gabriel, and then Huijsen is there. Now, I don't fully trust my model all the time. He's got his XGI as 0.2 for the season, 0.21, and a lot of that is XG, 0.15. So I don't know if that's fully trustworthy, though, because, Saliba's up here with his XG is like, his last 6 is 0.38, but that's because he had some tap-ins, didn't he, I think, because he had some real close goals. So I don't know whether you can trust these numbers, but I still think Huijsen looks all right. And also his fixtures are good because I wouldn't have to play him for all of these fixtures. Basically, I can rotate him. I'd only have to play him for like Everton, Nottingham Forest, Southampton, Wolves, Brighton, maybe Brentford there. I wouldn't have. I can rotate him in the next ones because game week 21, I can play Lewis against Brentford. I guess it's not great, but I can do that. And then this one I can play Lewis against Ipswich. It's not too bad. Then here I can play Huijsen against Nottingham Forest. Then Mikalenko's got a double, so when Huijsen's got Liverpool, I can play Mikalenko for his double. And Lewis has got Arsenal, so Mikalenko's perfect there to step in. Huijsen, Southampton there. The rotation just works really nice. Wolves there. Brighton there is not too bad. And then when he's got Tottenham, Lewis has got Nottingham Forest, Mikalenko's got Wolves. And he's got a good fixture in 29, which you need to start thinking about 29 because all these blanks everywhere. There's going to be carnage in 29. So I kind of like Huijsen. Bournemouth's defence is all right. For the season, it's 1.25 XGA per 90 is not bad. Form-wise, 1.33. They're still kind of ticking along. It's not amazing, but it's all right. 4 clean sheets, only conceded 23 goals. It's all right. It's all right. I still think I'd prefer to keep Timber, but given this snow problem, I think I might have my hand forced to change it. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment. There's obviously a lot of other defenders you could go for. Munoz, Hall, Robinson. I was looking at Anderson. I haven't heard many people mention back, but he's back and he's 4.2. And, in FPL, we usually love to have just a third defender, fifth defender, a third on the bench who just sits there, a 4 mil player. Well, why not just get an Anderson for 4.2? He's going to be now for the rest of the season, and he'll just sit there anyway. It's like a real nice little spot. You can play him this game week, just for that, 0.2 more. I feel like that's quite a good option rather than a Castagna who's going to be. Tete will be back soon, so he'll lose his spot around about game week 25 again, probably, maybe, is my guess. So yeah, Anderson's an option, but yeah. So other than that though, so could I go for a Munoz or a Hall? And I think I haven't looked into it massively. The problem with all these other players is I'm thinking about game week 29, and maybe that's my problem. I shouldn't care about game week 29, but Munoz, Crystal Palace, if Newcastle beat Arsenal in the EFL Cup, then he's going to have a blank in game week 29. Now, maybe I shouldn't, that's too much thinking about that. But I actually fancy Newcastle to beat Arsenal. I think it's kind of close. Maybe not, but we'll see. And I could just go for Munoz because that run of fixtures is great for him, and he's got good XGI, really good XG. Chelsea's a hard jumping on point, but maybe I just bite the bullet with that. Great fixtures there for him. Could do that, and then again just bite the bullet. Maybe, I think I'd prefer to have Munoz. I'd feel more excited for that period to have him. I have done the maths on it and looked at like the rotation of Huijsen, Mikalenko and Lewis actually comes out at more points than just playing Munoz every game. But then again, I don't trust my numbers massively. But I could do that. I could just go to Munoz, bite the Chelsea game on the bite the bullet with that one, and then have him, and then just hope that Arsenal beat Newcastle in 29. But I'm just reluctant to bring in players who I might have to use another transfer to bring them out again. And there is some maths where you can think there are some players who will score more over like eight or 9 fixtures, and then you can just let them blank in that one, and they will actually score more over that period than somebody who's got a fixture in 29 and plays all the way through. So sometimes there's some maths there that work out. It is a long way, but I don't know. I like starting to think about the fixtures, and I like getting all my pieces set up and doing the strategy part. And so I kind of like the fact that Huijsen ticks all the boxes. He's got a fixture in 29. He rotates really nicely with my players, and he's playing on the Saturday in Bournemouth. No snow worries this game week either. Ticks all the boxes for me. Whereas Crystal Palace might blank in 29. You've got Lewis Hall again, Newcastle. If they happen to beat Arsenal, then they'll be blanking in 29. They got Tottenham away this game week as well. That's not the greatest jumping on point either. Who else is there? There's Robinson and Anderson I like. Where are they? He's a bit lower down. Ipswich, great game. But then Tottenham, if Tottenham beat Liverpool in the EFL Cup, that'll be a blank. But I think that's less likely. I fancy Liverpool to beat Tottenham more than I fancy Arsenal to beat Newcastle. So you could just punt on that. Anthony Robinson. I could have a look at that. I haven't fully decided yet, so I will still keep looking at this stuff. And Anderson as well. I could just go for a cheap Anderson. But then the thing that put me off Anderson, I'm waffling like mad in this video, but I'm going to keep waffling. The thing that put me off Anderson is the idea was it would be nice to get this 4.2 cheap player for the rest of the season. But I don't think I'm going to need him at the end because it's very unlikely that Fulham are going to get a double game week in 36 when I'm likely to bench boost because Fulham are playing Southampton in 34. So, which basically means what are the chances of Fulham or Southampton getting to the semi-final of the FA Cup? It's like pretty slim. Pretty slim. Therefore, they're probably not going to blank there, which means they're probably not going to double there, which means I'm probably not going to want him for the whole season. He's got a tiny chance of blanking in 29, which means I might have wanted him there. But Tottenham need to beat Liverpool in the EFL Cup, and that's unlikely as well. So, I've called on the idea of Anderson, but he is still it just feels like a nice spot. 4.2, rather than getting a Greaves or a Harwood Bellis, you can just get an Anderson. You can play him this game week and then stick him on your bench and save some money. It just feels like a nice spot. So anyway, that's defensive talk. At the moment, I'm sticking with Huijsen. And the reason why I'm getting funny about the transfers and saving transfers now, this isn't very clear, but I've just started thinking ahead to try and get a sense of how many transfers we're going to need. And I feel like we're actually going to need a lot. And particularly around about 29, 30, I'm feeling a sense of as a real kind of pinch point here. Because if you think, at the moment, this is my chip strategy, may change, could easily change. But at the moment, it's like dead ending. I'm going to triple captain 25 or 24 whenever the Liverpool double is. Dead end into 29, wildcard 30, assistant manager 31, 32, 33, free hit 34, bench boost 36. That's the plan. It all fits in quite nicely. Haven't thought about it super deeply, but that's how it looks like. How it feels nice. Then what was I going to say? So the ideal situation though you would have is you would wildcard in 30 with 5 free transfers rolled up. That's what you want. That's the ideal situation. Then you've got 5 free transfers to do the assistant manager chip if you want to take some punts and move the transfer around. And you've got 5 free transfers to make sure your bench boost is nice for 36 and to move some of these players from 33 to 36 because there's probably going to be different teams doubling. There might be a few that are the same. Basically, whichever teams get to the EFL final and the FA Cup semi-final, they'll both double in 33 and 36. But the teams that they play against, and there's probably be more teams that are different from 33 to 36 than are the same. There'll only be 1 or 2 that are the same, probably. So you're going to need transfers to, mix all that around. So basically, game week 30, wild card, 5 free transfers in the bank. That's what you want. That's the max ideal situation so that you can navigate this whole section as best as you can. But game week 29 and 25, you're going to want a lot of transfers for these two as well. Game week 29 is going to be carnage because if Arsenal and Liverpool win, you've got Arsenal Chelsea blank and a Liverpool Aston Villa blank, which is going to be that's like 8 of my players, I think, something like that. I've got Gabriel, Timber, who at the moment, and Jesus. I've got Trent, Salah, and Jota. That's 6. I've got Palmer and Rodgers. That's 8 players. 8 of my players out. If that was the case, it also could. If Newcastle win, it'll be Newcastle, Chelsea. I've got 2 Newcastle. Newcastle, Crystal Palace, and some people have got Crystal Palace. And if Tottenham win, it'll be Tottenham, Fulham, which I've got none of, which would be lovely. But that's the least likely. So I'm going to need a lot of transfers to sort that out. And I want to be rolling, if I can, 5 transfers from there so that I can actually wildcard with 5 transfers. And then we've got this double here of Liverpool and Everton. I've got if I sell Jota, I'll have 2 Liverpool, 1 Everton. But I wouldn't mind having a couple more. Certainly 1 more Liverpool. And then, maybe an extra Everton. But then I'm going to want to get rid of him as well. So there's a lot of transfers I'm going to need for all of this. And ideally, I'd like to go into 29, kind of set up, and so that I've only got 3 players that I can just bench for that game week, and then whip them back out for 30 in wildcard. So basically, I'm starting to feel much more tense about my transfers now. I don't think I want to do any more punts. So that's why I'm thinking of bringing in Mbeumo instead of Sarr, because Mbeumo is just solid and safe, isn't he? My model does have him pretty high as a replacement for Jota. I mean, basically these are red flags. So the next best one is like there, Mbeumo. He is really high, even though his XGI is still just 0.5. And there was a reason I sold him earlier in the season because he was just blanking so much. But I guess I was just too soon. I sold him too soon. I gave him five game weeks, but he obviously came back, and yeah, maybe that was too soon. So I may bring him back in. It's a lovely game this game week at Southampton. Obviously, Man City, Liverpool, Crystal Palace is not ideal. But then Tottenham, West Ham, Leicester, pretty good. Everton, Aston Villa, Bournemouth. It's fine. Overall, it's pretty good. And yeah, my model always has him high. And he must just be doing good for bonus or doing good for minutes. His minutes are always good. I guess that just always bumps his numbers up. Yeah, 90 minute. He's a 90-minute man. So that's always a benefit for him. And on pens, things like this. So he's good. Yeah, and I was looking at Sarr. Ismaila Sarr started appearing on my model, but he's got great first four fixtures, but then these next four get a little bit trickier. Man United maybe, but then Everton, Fulham, Aston Villa, tricky. Newcastle away, even if that game's on, it's a tricky fixture. So he kind of feels like he's probably if I bring him in, he's a transfer out again after those four are done. And again, so I don't really want to book in transfers. And he's had 2 blanks in the last 2, which is fine, but I'm hearing some people going off him already, and I mean, he's probably too soon. One thing about Sarr is like he's not like a proven FPL product. He's like he's a bit new on the block, so he's a bit more unreliable. You could go for Eze, but then Eze is a bit lower down on my model. He's only ticking along 0.4, 0.5ish. He's not pulling up trees necessarily, but good 4 fixtures. He's fine. Yeah, he's fine. So I mean, I could just bring one of them in and just stick him for the whole 8 and just go through the hard fixtures as well. I don't have to transfer him out. But the fact that Mbeumo is really high up here anyway just makes you think, well, maybe I'll just go to Mbeumo anyway and just play it safe. So yeah, that's about it. Like, so it's Sarr and Eze and Mbeumo. There's some other players I was looking at, like Diaz. Maybe I'll go to Diaz instead of Jota, but again, he's another Liverpool player and the game might get called off. Bruno Fernandes is good, but he's another one who's got the risk of the game being called off. I mean, Gordon's good. I've got Gordon, but would I bring him in now with this logic of like, well, he might blank in 29? Maybe it's too much. Maybe you just bring him in and you use your transfer. But like I say, I'm starting to worry about how many transfers we're going to need. We need so many. So yeah, Gordon maybe not. And then the only other options are like KDB, but that's just too punty, isn't it? And then one of the Tottenham midfielders. But so I think it's Mbeumo. I'm just going to bring Mbeumo in. Great first fixture now. That's where I'm heading. I couldn't afford him at first, but if I sell Timber down to Huijsen, then I'll have the money as well. And then I'll stick with Jesus. So that feels sensible and fine, I think. Little bit risky with Huijsen, but then I'm only going to be playing him in the easy fixtures. I've got like a nice rotation between these 3. He's cheap. He's got a good game week 29 fixture. It'll make sure I've got players for this game week so I can sell Timber. Yeah, I guess he's all right. Don't know. I could go for a Munoz or something, but we'll see. And then Jota to Mbeumo. The thing about Jota is that what's his name? Diogo. The thing about Jota is he's got, if this game doesn't get cancelled and if Jota plays against Man United, that could be, he's got such a high ceiling. Like this is, before the snow, I was thinking of keeping Jota because he's it's just kind of exciting. Like if he does start, it would be so good if he gets that number 9 spot back again, and having him for the double as well, be really good. We've got after this game week, Liverpool have got Spurs. They've got EFL Cup and FA Cup, And so there are fixtures here to kind of see how Jota's going to do. We can see how many minutes he gets, see if he builds up his minutes. We might have more of an idea of whether he's going to play first choice or not. Nottingham Forest is a tricky one, but I don't know. So you could hold on to him and then just see how many minutes. Because if he gets his place back, he's great. But the sense I get is that most people think he's not going to start again against Man United. If he was going to get his place back, he's had enough opportunities to. His fitness should be back by now, you would have thought, and so it's tricky. You'd have thought he would have started by now, especially that West Ham one when Gakpo played like 90 minutes against Leicester. Quick turnaround. You'd think that's a prime fixture for Jota to start, and he didn't. And so with Man United, who's their best front three right now? It's probably Diaz, Gakpo, and Salah. They've had a big rest there. They can rest their best front three in some of these. Potentially, EFL is usually a fixture that teams tend to kind of rest players in. You know, Arsenal versus Man City last season. Arsenal, they both rested a lot of players. Arsenal did. So even in the big games. So yeah, I think it's slightly less likely that Jota's going to start that than more likely. But I don't know. And it's risky. And keeping Jota just for the sake of this double as well coming up is probably not sensible either, because he might not. How many minutes is he even going to get in the double? Even if he gets his place back, there's just, I don't even know if he'll be nailed like it was at the start of the season. There's rotation now potentially, so he just feels too much risk with the snow as well. There's just so much risk around him, and I don't know if I need to take that risk. It's like it seems like unnecessary risk, given that I'm doing quite well rank-wise. I may as well. Obviously, if he goes off a 3% EO Jota at home to Man United is amazing. But if he doesn't go off, if Mbeumo goes off, I'm going to have like a 20, 30, whatever he is, 40% Mbeumo against me. And I'm going to have Jota either snowed off or blanking on the bench at 3%. So, yeah. I am starting to think about EO now a little bit. I do like to take a little bit of a punt, but given that I'm doing quite well for rank, and I just, I feel like I should bank that luck in. I'm not going to get that lucky again, so I should lock it in and just kind of go high EO for now, I think. So the Mbeumo one covers that, but maybe Huijsen, maybe that's a bit punty actually, the Huijsen one. Maybe I should go for like Munoz instead. Maybe that's it to cover the EO. I'll see. I'll have a think about it, but that's kind of where I'm thinking at the moment. So, yeah, it's a lot of thoughts. And I think that's it. And I'll keep Jesus for now. I was thinking of doing Jesus to Jackson, or if he had blanked, I would have moved him on to Jackson or Raul Jimenez. Ideally, Jackson. Jackson, I think, is fine for minutes. Here's Chelsea here, game week 20, Crystal Palace. They can rest him here, and then he's got Bournemouth. They've got a nice big week there until Wolves, got a nice big week there till Man City, another nice big week there to West Ham. He's got no Europe, no EFL Cup. They can rest him against Morecambe in the FA Cup. He's got loads of space. Look, they'll have the... Here is where it gets a bit... I've lost Chelsea. Is that Chelsea? No, here is the next round of the FA Cup. But then, yes, that's right. So the FA Cup here, but even if they have a hard fixture, they still got another week there, FA Cup, then another week there. Then he's got another week off here. This is where it gets a bit tight around game week 27 and 28. Southampton and Leicester, because in here he's going to have round of 16 FA Cup, and then the round of 16 Europa Conference starts here as well. So he'll have... how do I do that? He'll have 2 fixtures here and another one here. So this is where he might get rested, and it will just depend on what Chelsea prioritise. It could be that he gets rested in the FA Cup and the the Europa Cup, and they prioritise Southampton and Leicester, especially after they just lost to Ipswich, after they benched him. But they might prioritise the round of 16 FA Cup and Europa, and then play him, and then bench him in Southampton and Leicester. That might be what they do instead. So that's the risk with Jackson. And Jackson in game week 29 is playing Arsenal. So that's a game that if Arsenal beat Newcastle in the EFL Cup, that'll be a blank as well. So that's the only problem with Jackson. I don't know where the best way to look at that is, but yeah, that's the only problem with Jackson. So all these fixtures are nice for Jackson. So if you're happy, but then he's another probable future transfer. It gets a little bit risky, a little bit hairy there. Then the other thing with Raul Jimenez is I think Raul Jimenez is fine for these next 3 or 4, which are the good ones. But then he's another future transfer because Newcastle's tricky, Nottingham Forest is tricky. He'll probably be okay for 29, but if Tottenham happen to beat Liverpool, then he might be in for a pickle there. You'd have to transfer him out. So Raul Jimenez also feels like a bit of a future transfer out. But if you're happy to just take him for the first 4, I think he'll be fine for the first 4 as well. You've got Fulham. Let's go back to 20. Fulham are there. So they've got Ipswich. They can rest him there. Mooners can play that one. That's the closest. You got a little turnaround there, but that'll be fine. He just played. They played. He rested there, and then played these 2 back to back. Raul Jimenez, Chelsea, and Bournemouth. So having a short turnaround isn't the problem. He's got time to rest. So I think he'll play that one. He'll play that. He'll play that. Nice big week's rest there. He'll play that one as well. So the next 4, I think he'll be fine for. He'll probably be fine for Newcastle as well, but you probably want to get rid of him for that point or bench him. But he'll still probably play FA Cup there, then Nottingham Forest. So he's got loads of time. So if you want to play him in those ones, he'll probably be fine right up until about this point. And then is that FA Cup as well? I think that's FA Cup. So if he gets this far, he would have Crystal Palace. Or he might have a short turnaround there, maybe. Yeah, but that's Raul Jimenez and Jackson and Jesus. Jesus is also probably a transfer out at some point too, but at least that's just one transfer. If I bring in Jackson, I've got to get rid of him again, or if I bring in Raul Jimenez, I've got to get rid of him again. So I'll just stick with Jesus for now, I think. So that is it. Lots to think about. Just to check I haven't missed anything, but that's it. And I was thinking some things about chip strategy as well, because hang on, let me just check I've finished all my thoughts. What is that? Is that a lot of so many thoughts in my brain, man? That is it, isn't it? The rest of the team is all pretty solid. Oh, put your vice on Isaac. That was a little bit of advice from Andy Martin on Twitter, and I think he's right about that. Or unless you want to go for Palmer, then put your vice on Palmer. Just make sure your vice is right, because that game could get called off. Yeah. I think that's right. Yeah, I'm going to keep thinking anyway, but that's fine. Other waffly thoughts I was thinking, though. One was that going back to this Game Week 29 thing, some people might free hit here. I may make another video about chip strategy, but some people might decide to free hit, because basically if Arsenal and Chelsea are called off and Liverpool and Aston Villa, how are you going to do that when it comes to Game Week 29? Game Week 29, benching Salah, because you're going to have a lot of money tied up in Salah and Palmer. So you're probably not going to want to sell them, but then that's a lot of money to have on your bench for Game Week 29. A lot of money to have on your bench. At the moment, I'm probably going to end up having to field 5 at the back. He'll be Mbeumo. I can easily get rid of Jesus. I'm probably not going to want to get rid of Rodgers either, because I've got quite a lot of money in him. So it would be like Trent and Gabriel I'd have to get rid of and play 5 at the back. It's not really ideal. You could sell one of Salah or Palmer and then buy him back, but I don't think it'll be worth it. You're going to lose like 0.5 mil. I had a little look into the maths, so I won't go into it now, but I don't think it's worth it. That's probably fairly intuitive. So, but then the other thing is, if you did free hit in 29, then what's going to happen in 34? And it's probably something similar. It depends on who makes it to the FA Cup semi-final. I think there's less chance of Chelsea. Chelsea could, but their opponent here is Everton. So one of Chelsea or Everton would have to get to the semi-final of the FA Cup for that to be a blank. A little bit less likely, whereas with Liverpool, they're playing Tottenham. So one of Tottenham or Liverpool has to get to the FA Cup semi-final for that to be a blank. And that seems a little bit more likely. So Salah, you may still have to bench Salah, you might get away with not having to bench Palmer. But so I don't know. But then the problem with free hitting, if you don't free hit in 34, you've got a really big kind of like zigzag here, because a lot of the teams that double in 33 are probably going to blank in 34. Some of them might. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't fully thought about this, but that was just something I was starting to think about as well. That game week 29 and exactly how it's going to look. It could get real ugly, and how do you navigate that? Having a bench Salah and Palmer for one game week is not really ideal. But we'll see. Long way off yet, though. Long way off. I think I'm nearing the end of my thoughts. I've got thoughts about mystery chip as well. I've been thinking about. I think I would like to do a video about that. Yeah, I'll get into that another time. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm going to think of 100 things as soon as I stop the video, but I think that's it. So that's the plan anyway. Yeah, Timber to Huijsen, Jota to Mbeumo, roll the other transfer, try and save some transfers, try and just not make any more transfers now for as long as possible. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop it there. Okay, thanks for listening. See you later. Bye-bye.